gentlemen, we are back, and we are with Candace.
Hey, everybody, Woman to Woman Collaborative. We are back, and we are still talking about friendship. The different levels of friends, what does it mean from a woman's perspective? You know, what does it mean at this point in our lives? It changes and it evolves. And so we've got with us our good friend Candace to talk about her perspective on how friendships change. So, hey, welcome to the show, Candace. How are you?
I'm great. This is amazing and happy to be with you.
Yes, we're so glad to have you. So, as you think about friendships, how has it for you evolved over time? What changes do you see?
That's funny because when I was in high school, and I can even remember being as young as in middle school. So middle school, being from Indianapolis, is 6th to 8th grade.
Yes.
And then high school is 8th to...
I remember that.
Perfect.
Yes.
And then 8th grade to senior year. That is considered, your high school years. And I just remember in my high school years wanting to hang out with the fellas a little bit more than I hang out with the ladies.
Oh, so you went with the guys?
I hung out with the guys. The guys were having a good time. They were talking about each other, and we call it joning in Indianapolis, right? And I think my husband says they call it capping in Cincinnati.
We call it capping down south too.
And so they would joan on each other, but they would joan on each other in front of each other, and they would riff back and forth with one another. But I always found that in my sister circles, before they were sister circles, that they would actually talk behind each other behind their backs.
So much of
and
that,
it was too catty for me. It was too much. She thinks she's this, and she thinks she's that, and she thinks that she all that. And
she's patting her head, y'all.
And I love the fact that I always thought that it was okay to be okay with people who thought that they were all that.
Yeah.
So I like being with the guys, and I think that it has something to do with the fact that the fellas played sports. And with the fellas playing sports, it was a natural competition. And within that natural competition that they had, in my perspective, and even though I didn't play sports, my father took me to a lot of competitive events because I love basketball. I'm from Indianapolis. That is Hoosier capital, right? That is basketball country. And so I was always at the games with my brothers and my father, and they take me right along. Maybe my mom was busy. I don't really know. But what I really thought was that I was there, and I grew up with the Patrick Ewings and the Dominique Wilkins and the Isaiah Thomas. And I wanted, and my dad would take me to those games. But at the same time, I would watch my brother, and he would play sports, and I just really think that it's imperative that women compete in places where it makes sense to compete. And I think that there should be a competitive environment for women when it comes to sports. I think that it should be mandated. All women play sports. I'm putting it out into the atmosphere. I think that all women should play sports at some point in their lives.
Okay, you're going to share with us why you say that.
Because we compete about things that just don't matter and don't make sense.
Let me ask you this. So we had a guest before, Michael, and he said women are always in competition with each other.
Yes.
And that's why we have issues in building relationships. Like we are all, he said, even if you don't initiate that competition, that other women are looking at you saying, oh, well, Deborah's got that blonde hair. She's 2'2", she's 6 foot and she's 100 pounds, and I'm trying to figure out how to be that. That's what he said women are constantly doing. So what do you have to say to that end?
I agree with that to some degree. I'm not saying that all women are like that. I think that now we see these social memes that are going around right now, as far as, if you're the mean girl at this age, that we're leaving that behind. And it's like, but we left that behind a long time ago.
We should have left that behind.
That part, say it again, Deb.
We should have. Say it for the people in the back, right? In the cheap seats. We should have left it behind a long time ago. But all of us didn't grow up that way. And I understand that it comes from the environment that you may have come from. I understand that it comes from the mindset that you might have.
And anybody can have a moment of insecurity, but get yourself together. Check yourself.
Absolutely.
If you do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we're all fabulous in our own regard.
That part.
Right? I mean, so here we are. So Katrina's got short black hair. It's spiky and it's cute and it's fabulous. And Candace is sitting here with long braids. And they're blonde and they're brown and they're fabulous. And Deborah's sitting here with blonde hair and it's straight and it's beautiful and it's fabulous.
It's fabulous.
But we don't have to all be the same, right? We come in a lot of different varieties. We're diverse within our own diversity. And we can respect one another's own diversity.
And
but
not just respect it, but celebrate it.
And celebrate it in the sense of I celebrate your fabulousness in the sense in how you're fabulous. We all show up to the table as fabulous. But at the same time, what we don't have to do is then compete against, okay, well, who's got the best handbag? And whose nails look nice? And who's got on the latest shoes? And what does she have on? What does her hair look like? What are her earrings like? What's her drip like? What's her ring like?
We gotta check it.
It's all superficial.
We gotta check those
things. It means something different when you say it out loud. It's so
incredibly
petty.
It does.
Yeah.
But so many of us get caught up in it, and we've got to check ourselves.
We do. We need to support each other.
Yes.
Which of you, or maybe both of you, have been in female relationships where they disguise shade as jokes? I'm just kidding. Oh, okay. So I see you.
I'm going to tease you about it later. I'm going to tease you about that later.
And like, okay, so you're constantly putting me down.
There's some truth in everything you say.
Right. And there's a little bit of truth in all the humor. Right.
Was it you that said the mean girl made the mean girl respond?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a little bit of mean girl in that because they know it's not acceptable, so they disguise it as though I'm just kidding, I'm just joking.
No,
but you are left
feeling
depleted, right? Yeah. You're feeling a little bit depleted by what they say.
And that's Deborah, and that's when you have to take your power and say,
you have to do it. Yeah.
No, that's not okay. And we have to be, if it is a real friend and you call them out, we talked about this earlier. If it's a real friend and you call them out and say, hey, I don't feel good about that. I feel like that was really an attack on me.
Yes.
A real friend will say, you know what?
I
was wrong.
I'm so sorry.
I shouldn't have did that. I was wrong for that. Let me back up. Let me rephrase. And
seriously,
I'm sorry.
I'm always mindful of how I'm making my friends feel.
You have
like
to.
If I'm not
it's a
lifting
real friendship.
Them up, that's right.
And I'm not going to lift you up in your mess. Okay.
Well, now wait a minute. That's right.
But
now,
if you are just getting through your day to day, and we're here to be each other's cheerleaders.
Yes.
If we don't do it for each other, how likely is it to get into the workplace where we might be the one of only, right?
Raise your hand right now. If you're one of only. All of us have our hands raised.
Absolutely.
If you're one of only.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we have to have a community
we have to
that we can go back to where we can be our true selves and be okay with who we are and know we can express ourselves fully and completely. We have to have that. We have to.
Yeah. So how has it changed for you then, Candace?
So how has it changed
now versus when you were younger? Okay, so you're explaining to us that you preferred the male, the guys. You like hanging out with the guys because they had more of a clean interaction with each other, right? It felt.
And Michael said that too. He said it. He said you could take it and leave it. It's whatever it is in this moment. It was no emotion attached to it.
There was no emotion attached to it. They said it. They said it. They may have meant it, and they may not have, and it doesn't really matter. And they don't really remember anything about it the next time they saw it.
Y'all, let me just put a pause right
here. Put it out there.
We get so mad and so upset about stuff, and men don't even remember.
They don't
even remember. But anyway,
I'm guilty of it because I'll raise my hand because my man's probably looking at this.
Where's Mel? Poor Mel.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're out here, and you know what? This is not a condemnation of women. This is not what this podcast is about. We are here to just talk about things. Bring it forward,
the truth for what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So when you talk about the evolvement of the relationship, what's interesting is that as a 15-year-old young woman, I was actually working on a career.
Wow.
At the age of 13 years old, I was with executive level individuals in an environment where my mother's best friend was a judge. I wanted to be an attorney.
Like you are
and I was in so I was working with people who were adults, okay? And so when I was 15 and I decided to go into cosmetology, I'm now still working with adults. My clientele is primarily women, but I'm working with executive level women. Who are in the workplace, who are moving, who are I mean, not just boss women, executive women, but women who are really making their mark.
Right, and
and
they
so
know
that
Candace
mindset
can provide that service.
and that level of service at that level, at the time in my life, I've always been known as an old soul.
Well, you kind of are, Candace, and I will interject here and say there's something very disciplined and proper about you that compels me to be good.
Let me get my back straight. Candace is coming. My soror is coming. Let me get some composure about myself.
We love
She's
it.
coming
We
in.
love
Let me make sure I look like I might have something to say.
Yes, exactly.
And because of that reason, that continued on for me, where I carry the torch in the sense of wanting to present myself as the best person that I could be. And so within that space and in that environment where women were at a certain level, I aspired to be at that level. So my level of conversation was at an elevated level where I wanted to bring people into that environment. What was tough during that time, being a young woman who was married with 2 young children, and now I'm a business owner. I'm a business owner, but I don't have friends who are business owners, but they're aspiring in their careers and they're doing things as far as moving the pendulum forward. So what do those conversations sound like? It doesn't always sound like an elevated level as to where we always want to be. And don't get me wrong, I probably drank some of the haterade, and I probably was wondering, you know, I wasn't always as mature. But when thinking about who you actually pull yourself together with, partner with, spend your time with, those things are important because those types of people will elevate you within those spaces.
They will.
So when thinking about how it evolved in the sense of just making sure that I aligned myself with people who were rising to the occasion, who were rising to the level that I wanted to be. And it didn't always mean that they were my friends, but they were colleagues. And I think that it's important when Drake says no new friends. I don't believe that. I do believe that we can make new friends as we move along this journey. Everybody doesn't always come with you at different. There's a quote. It says, you know, some will be with you from the beginning, some will be with you from the middle, some will be with you to the end. And you have to figure out which dynamic everybody gets to go together, or some you get to pick up and leave behind.
Come on now. And like you said, it's so key. You know, there are different levels of friendships, and like you and you can get a real genuine friendship later in life.
You can,
because so many times you feel, I had to have a friend from when I was a teenager. That's not always the case. Like, you can get a real true friendship later in life. It doesn't have to be that way.
100%.
But you have to know, and like you said, you got to understand the level there. And I will never forget, I heard TDJ talk about this. He said, you got to understand who you're dealing with and why they're with you. You have some that are just comrades, people that are with you in it for a particular cause. Some people that are just there with you for this one particular incident.
Seasons.
Some
people
you
in
can't
your
take
lifetime
this person.
seasons.
You can.
If they're just here with you for this one particular incident, they're not always there for you for your whole life. So you got to know how to separate that. So guys, we just so appreciate you, Candace. We thank you so much for being with us. This has been an awesome conversation. Woman to Woman Collaborative. We are here. We'll bring another topic to you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. And so for tonight, we say thank you, guys.
All right.
If
this conversation resonated with you, comment below. We want to hear from you.
We want to hear you.